Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Rob, you want to do the prayer?
Sure. Father God, thank you for this opportunity to gather together this evening to discuss things for this township, Lord. Lord, allow us to have time of doing your work, and that you just guide us in this evening. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, call the roll.
Sure. Trustee Rivera.
Here.
Trustee Bonomo.
Here.
Trustee Shake. Here. Trustee Clausen. Sorry. And Supervisor Ballage.
Here.
Okay. We have a quorum. Okay, presentation of the test others. We're going to do it first before we do this.
We're going to be looking into doing professional services to hire a grant writer, and grant writer's here. So you want to tell us a little bit? That way you can get out of here.
Sure. Thank you for having me. I was invited to make a small presentation to tell you a little bit about my company and how we could possibly help you raise money for Uniter Center, looking through different grants. So my name is Tammy Leonard. I am the president and owner of a company called Grant Staff in Orland Park. Been doing this for over 30 years. We raise money internationally and just raised, this year we're going to have raised $500 million for various clients throughout the world. We do private, public, corporate foundations, as well as federal municipality. So we've done the gamut of all different types of grants. We've raised as little as $25 and as middle as $100 million. So it's all over. So Steve and I had a chance to have a conversation to learn a little bit about your project and what you would like to accomplish, and just wanted us to tell you a little bit about what we could do. So we did do some research. I know that you received your ARPA funds, and you're a little short on your deadline that you need to raise the money for. And so we were able to do a little digging and to see what kind of corporate or private foundations that there are. Just so you know, I know you are a township and you get tax dollars, but have some ideas how you can bring in those corporate and private foundations. So in that industry, they give away $642 billion a year. So in our research, the kind of things that we go after, of course, are senior populations. You can do low income, you can do food pantries, you can do civic. There wants to be some like after school programs. So all those different missions you can go after grants for, raising anywhere from $5,000 to $1 million. So they're out there for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Okay, we're going to voting on that later on.
Does anybody from the board have any questions for Tammy?
Not right now. I mean,
Yeah, it's going to be voted on in the supervisor's report, item number B, the letter B, which won't be far, because I know you'll get going. Okay, public comments?
Sure. We have Dave Medema. Dave, if you can give me 1 second, please, so I can put my timer on, I would appreciate it. Okay, Dave, go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to cover something that was said at the village board meeting the other night. It was said that the village maintains 8 miles of the township roads in Homer Township. That is not true. The village does not maintain any miles for the Homer Township Road District in the unincorporated areas. None. They don't do no mowing, no tree trimming, no culvert replacement, no ditching, no road replacement, no road repairs, no shoulder stone, no trash pickup, nothing. They don't do any of that. They do, however, plow some of our roads, but they're paid to do that. And I just wanted to set the record straight and let it be clear that that's what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. Okay, and Gail Schneider.
1999, the citizens of Homer Township voted to create an open space program under Illinois state statutes for townships. Article 115, township residents voted in favor of 2 referendums, one establishing an open space program, the other to borrow $8 million to purchase land. All lands acquired through that process become open space, and the state statute dictates their use. State law does not require any special filing of the deed or zoning category for the land to be categorized and used as open space after purchase. With the voter-approved $8 million, Homer Township purchased over 200 acres of land on 4 parcels. They are the Welter, Trantino, Paul, and Purdy farms. They are all open space lands. Supervisor Ballot, you continue to mislead the public, your fellow board members, and anyone else you can about the Township Open Space Program. It is deceptive and wrong for you to continue to gaslight the public who know what they voted for and why they voted for it. The rezoning of a 40-acre portion of the 50-acre Welter Farm was unnecessary if you would just follow the state statute for the allowable uses of open space. Rezoning to the village's open space category gives clarity to the Township Board itself and the future boards that the land is restricted, so it will help avoid any future confusion. In fact, you could rezone the Trantino Farm similarly. Why don't you do that? The open space on the Purdy and Paul farms can be protected by implementing a special purpose district, the purpose of which, according to the county zoning code, is to help preserve and protect land set aside for parks and open space use. You see Will County Code 155-6.20. Another way you could protect open space from yourselves and future boards is to have the deeds refiled categorizing all the properties as restricted according to open space statute guidelines, if you believe that that is what makes open space valid. Supervisor Ballas, you want to claim that you are listening to the people by changing the zoning on the Welter Farm. Now listen to the people about the other open space properties. If rezoning or deed restrictions will be the proof that you are operating in good faith with the public and have given up ideas of selling and developing all open space parcels, then go ahead and prove it. On disconnection, as a member of the first village board of Homer Glen, I work to bring more land into the village to keep larger undeveloped areas connected. I know the harm you will do to the homeowners and residents of Homer Glen by disconnecting and promoting disconnections from the village. You could cause losses to the tax base, reducing revenue to the village, and loss of zoning authority. Supervisor Balish and board members who live in Homer Glen, please understand that disconnecting will harm our community. Why and to what end would you do this? The residents and many elected officials do not understand the damage you can cause, but I do, and I will explain it to them if you
15
proceed
seconds,
further.
please.
I'd like to respectfully submit this for the record.
Sure. Thank you.
There's plenty of seats.
Thank you, Gail.
Second row over there. You can walk through.
Okay, clerk report?
Sure. Okay, I'd like a motion to approve the September 11th, 2023 monthly township board meeting minutes.
I'll start that motion.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, motion passes. And so also for my report is we have received a couple FOIAs that were sent to the Attorney General, and I just wanted to kind of make people aware of what was going on. So we had received a couple FOIAs from the Attorney General that were sent to the Attorney General, sorry. And I just wanted to address them so the public is a little bit familiar with what's going on. So this is from Ms. Van Leckenheisen. Excuse me if I did not say that name correctly. The determination letter is issued pursuant to Section 9.5C of the Freedom of Information Act, the FOIA. For the reasons set forth below, the Public Access Bureau concludes that this request of review is unfounded. On July 29, 2023, you sent an email to Homer Township asking, "Good afternoon, I would like to FOIA the following information. All of James Shake's paychecks, date he was hired, his resume, how many other applicants were there, where was this job posted, and for how long? Was a background check conducted on James Shake?" On August 4th, 2023, the Township responded by providing you with a link to the Township's online monthly check register and indicated it does not possess a resume for Mr. Shake. On that same date, you submitted a request for review contesting that the Township's response. You explained that Mr. Shake's wife was recently appointed village trustee, so you were wondering about Mr. Shake's job and where the position was posted. Section 1.2 of FOIA provides that all records in the custody or possession of a public body are presumed to be open to inspection or copying. Accordingly, FOIA applies to public records maintained by a public body. A public body is not required to answer questions or generate new records in response to a FOIA request. On August 23, 2023, the Assistant Attorney General in the Public Access Bureau contacted you to clarify which portions of the Township's response you were contesting. You explained that your concern was that the Township Clerk, Vicki Bozen, did not answer your questions. You acknowledged that payroll information is available online, but stated that you did not see a job posting online and did not know what position Mr. Shea filled. You stated that you also wanted to know whether the Township had any other applicants and whether a background check was conducted on Mr. Shea. Under FOIA, the Township was not required to answer your questions about Mr. Shake's hiring, the number of applicants, where and for how long the job was posted, and whether a background check was conducted. Rather than reasonably identifying public records, those portions of your request sought explanations concerning Mr. Shake's hiring. Thus, while you submitted your request to the Township as a FOIA request, your allegations to this office concern the portions of your request that did not ask to inspect or copy public records. Because FOIA does not obligate a public body to respond to mere questions, this office has determined that your request for review is unfounded and the case is closed. So that was the first one. Then the second one was from Miss Nancy Huckenberry. The determination is issued pursuant to Section 3.5 of the Open Meetings Act. For the reasons explained below, this office has determined that no further action is warranted in this matter. Section 3.5 of OMA provides that a person who believes that a violation of this act by a public body has occurred may file a request for review with the public access counselors established in the Office of the Attorney General, which must include a summary of the facts supporting the allegation, emphasis added. Your request for review appears to allege that the Homer Township Board may have violated OMA by engaging in deliberations outside of an open meeting on the subject of assuming control of a particular section of road from Will County. In support of your assertion, you state that the Township Supervisors provided public comment at the August 23rd, 2023 meeting of the Board of Trustees for the Village of Homer Glen, Village Board. You state that during the Township Supervisor's public comment, he mentioned that the Township planned to take charge of the road in question. You allege that this subject was never discussed at a Township meeting. Therefore, you assert that Supervisor Ballage continues to conduct Township business in secret. You included with your request for review a screenshot of meeting minutes from the Board's August 7, 2023 special meeting and the agenda for the Board's August 14, 2023 meeting. You also included video footage of the relevant public comment from the Village Board August 23, 2023 meeting. Under OMA, all meetings of public bodies must be open to the public unless one of the exceptions in Section 2C of OMA permits the public body to adjourn to closed session to discuss a particular matter. In order for the requirements of the OMA to apply, a gathering must constitute a meeting as defined by OMA. Meeting means any gathering, whether in person or by video, audio conference, telephone call, electronic means. Under the plain language of this definition, the board is not engaged in a meeting unless there is contemptuous, interactive communication between a majority of a quorum of its members. The board consists of the Township Supervisor and 4 trustees. Under OMA, five-member bodies have a 3-member quorum and require the affirmative vote of 3 members to adopt any motion, resolution, ordinance, unless a greater number is otherwise required. This office has reviewed the video footage that you provided in support of your allegation that board may have privately met to discuss assuming responsibility for the road in question. During the public comment portion of the Village Board's August 23, 2023 meeting, the Township Supervisor informed the Village Board that he recently met with the Township Assessor and the Township Road Commissioner to discuss the relevant road. He indicated that he then spoke with the Township Attorney concerning transferring the jurisdiction of the portion of the road from the county to the Township Road District. The Township Supervisor informed the Village Board that the Township was keeping the Village Board apprised of the situation and that it might need the Village Board signature on the transfer document. Next, the Township Road Commissioner addressed the Village Board concerning the reasons he believed the transfer in jurisdiction is necessary. Based on this recording, there is no indication that the gathering referenced by the Township Supervisor included at least 2 members of the board. Although the township assessor and the township road commissioner are public officials, they are not members of the board. Therefore, the recording does not constitute evidence of a meeting as defined above. Further, although you state the board's recent agendas do not show a discussion on this subject, it does not follow that the board must have discussed the matter in secret. So basically, because you have not provided a summary of facts supporting the allegations that the board violated the requirements of OMA, this office has determined that no further action is warranted in this matter and that this file is closed. So I just kind of wanted to make everyone aware of what's going on with the FOIAs that have recently been sent to our office. And then now we can move on to the levy. In front of you, you do have the levy for the tentative levy, sorry, for the 2023 Town Fund, General Assistance Fund, Park Fund, and Debt Service. If I can please get a motion to accept or to approve the tentative levy. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Mike did. I said second.
Pardon me?
Second.
Oh, you second, any discussion?
Oh, sorry.
No? Okay. All right, I'll take a roll call. Trustee Rivera,
Yes.
trustee Shea,
Yes.
trustee Clausen,
Yes.
trustee Bonomo,
Yes.
supervisor Ballage.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Then we have the motion to approve the tentative 2023 levy for the Road and Bridge Fund and the Building and Equipment Fund.
I'll start that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Yeah, this is the third year in a row we're reducing the tax levy for the road district.
Talk louder, friend.
This is the third year in a row we're reducing the tax levy for the road district. 3 years in a row.
You know, thanks so much. I'd like to say one thing about, Brent, in terms of he brought professionalism to the department and all. And as he said, each year he has lowered the levy. There's things that he does that he doesn't charge back to the township, which isn't accounted for. And I know in the last village board meeting, he was criticized for the levy without looking at the facts. And again, if anyone pays attention to what he does or knows what he does behind the scenes without being public about it, would be surprised, I think. He's a hard worker, and again, he, with his background, how many years of experience have you had in this industry, Brent? 35 years? That pays for itself, and I think he's done more for the township than a lot of people really understand. But I'd like to say that. Thank you.
Brent, you want to explain since everybody's here, about how much you saved us this year in signing off on all the culverts and the rest of the engineering? Just an estimate. I know you don't have it verbatim.
So, in the past 3 years, what we've done is we've strived to become a sovereign road district, which means we do not depend on the village for anything. As you remember, 3 years ago, basically the entire road district was given over to Homer Glen, and we were left with a bunch of crappy equipment and materials. We were left with a building that had no running water, no sewer, no water, no nothing, no paved roadways, and we've rebuilt it from scratch, from the ground up, and we have a first-class facility now. Yet we keep cutting taxes every year. We're providing the services that we need to for the public, and that's kind of the way the road district works. One last thing, I'll be going over tonight the numbers on expenses and mileage and everything else for the road district metrics that I mentioned at the last village meeting. But yeah, there's also free engineering that I'm providing. Obviously, I've talked about that before, and Mike talked about. Typically, engineering fees for bid documents and inspections is anywhere from 8 to 12% of the construction cost of a typical capital improvement. Last year, we had, I believe, over $800,000 in capital improvements. And so if you want to do the math on that, you can figure out that it surpassed my salary. So taxpayers got a bargain. That's all I got.
Thank you, Brent.
Thank you.
Can I ask
I'll
you
take a
question
roll.
about
Oh,
that
sorry.
real quick?
Yeah.
Why would the village dump a bunch of depreciated equipment on us like that? Do you have an opinion on that?
Everything was set up before I was elected, so I kind of walked into it, and I don't know.
Anybody else? All right, thanks. All right, I'll take a roll call then for the motion. Trustee Clausen,
Aye.
Trustee Shake?
Yes.
Trustee Rivera?
Yes.
Trustee Bonomo?
Yes.
Supervisor Ballage?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, when we're talking, we gotta talk louder, because it's not gonna pick it up. Okay, guys?
Yes.
On the supervisory report, before I start, I just wanna clear the air here. The Welter Farm, which we just voted at our board to make it open space. I was at the planning commission for about 2.5 hours because open space evidently doesn't equal farming. So they had to do a text amendment to change the rules in Homer Glen to allow farming. And if they didn't do that, we wouldn't have been able to farm. How about that, guys? And so I told the village that if they deny us the farming, then the deal's all up. We're not gonna zone it open space. Because we're not gonna let it go to weeds, and we're not gonna pay to cut grass there and everything else. But it was 2.5 hours at that planning commission meeting. So everybody needs to know that. So when people talk about the open space, I think they've been, gave a lot of baloney over the years. Maybe some of it came from a bond, some of it didn't. And there were things that were sold that shouldn't have been. There's a lot, if it was. But no use of going backwards in time, because what we just did with the Welter Farm is go back, revert it back the way it was. What everybody thought it was, I should say. So that's why we did it. So when we were done, after I went to the meetings, and they zoned it open space, and they allowed farming by changing the laws of Homer Glen. It's called the text amendment. And people you can believe it or not, but go to the village and you can see the paperwork. And so I'll leave it like that. And I have one other thing that's been happening. We're all part of government here. And whenever we go somewhere, when we're asked by a private business to go somewhere, they get anywhere from 3 to 20 emails that are nasty emails saying really bad stuff about us. And the people that are doing it, just think about something. How would you like it if I go get a PI, find out where you work, and I write letters to your boss and say, hey, you're a bad person. You stink. Would you like that? The answer is no. And I wouldn't do it anyway, because I'm not that type of a person. But I find it appalling that whenever we go somewhere, the people in charge say, we got all these letters, these emails. I shouldn't say letters. So, that's going on too. So, you know what? God bless you. When you go to heaven, God will have a special word for you. Okay, so with that, we're going to move on to the, need a motion to approve Angel Shake and Gianna Glorioso to assist the grant writer in various tasks and information grant.
I'll start that motion.
I'll second the motion.
I will, well, it's not paid, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, motion passes.
Okay, motion to approve professional services for grant writing.
I'll start that motion.
And I'll second that motion.
We don't need a,
Oh, because it's
professional
an,
service. Wait a second. We don't need a, we don't need a roll call, right, because there's no money.
I would, in the abundance of caution, I would do a roll call.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
It doesn't
So
hurt.
I'm sorry, any discussion? No? Okay, I'll do a roll call then. Trustee Rivera?
Yes.
Trustee Bonomo?
Yes.
Trustee Shake?
Yes.
Trustee Clausen?
Yes.
Supervisor Ballage?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
Motion to approve hiring of professional services for public relations.
I'll start that motion.
Second.
I'll take a roll call. Trustee Shake?
Yes.
Trustee Clausen?
Yes.
Trustee Bonomo?
Yes.
Trustee Rivera?
Yes.
Supervisor Ballage?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
The next one is notification and discussion of Will County zoning case ZC 23-078. I got this in an email from the county for our planning commission, and I read it, and I didn't see a problem with it. Looked like it was just cut and dry, except for one thing. It was a 40-foot barn, if you want to call it a barn. So I called up the mayor of Mokina, because that's where it's located. And he said that he wasn't sure, because they were calling it a farmette. And so he went out there to check it out, and he hasn't gotten back to me yet because he wants to know why they needed increasing all these sizes. So as of right now, I didn't want to do a vote on it until I heard back from him. So, because I want to report the whole thing to you guys, not just what I saw, what I read and I saw. So we're not going to do anything. It's just so everyone's aware we got it, and when we find more information, I'll let you know. And then motion to approve grant writing course for Clerk Bozen in the amount not to exceed $3,000.
I'll second the motion.
I'll second. Any discussion? No? Okay. I'll take a roll call. Trustee Shake? Yes. Trustee Bonomo?
Yes.
Trustee Clausen?
Yes.
Trustee Rivera?
Yes.
Supervisor Ballage?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
Item F, motion to approve Supervisor Ballage and the Township Attorney to explore disconnection proceedings or other methods of de-annexation.
I'll start that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I will, go ahead, I'll take a roll call on that one.
Yeah, I'm going to say something.
Go ahead.
Okay, people are here wondering why we want to disconnect our property from the Village of Homer Glen. The Village of Homer Glen has initiated a dissolving the township vote, which means they want to dissolve the whole township. The mayor numerous times said she wants to remove the village from Homer Township's property. She wants the village removed from the township. Well, there's no way you can remove a village from the township. So we are going to remove the township from the village, which you can do. So our property can legally be removed. It's called a disconnection. She can't disconnect from Homer Township, or not she, the village can't disconnect from Homer Township. But we can disconnect from Homer Glen. And it's been done before. There's a lot of people that have disconnected in the past. So since we are not wanted by Homer Glen, and they do not really work with us at all, since they had the last election, it was zero working with us. Every time we turn around, we get something negative. And with that, we don't need to be there. We're better off with the county. And 2 years ago, just think how beautifully the township worked with the village. Everything was like working together. It was making what was good for the people. And now it's the complete opposite. It's attack the township from the village. And you know what? I'm not looking forward to attacks from anybody. So we just get out of the village and they can just do whatever they want. We do what we want. They go in their lane, we stay in our lane. And I'm sure that the village is going to say no problem since they want to disconnect from Homer Township and they can. So with that, can I call for a vote?
I'd like to say
You got something to say, Mike?
I'd like to say something too. What disturbed me in the last village meeting is the attacks against township elected officials. Starting with Carmen Morella, according to the village mayor, she claimed that they had a meeting to discuss the dissolving of the township. My guess is that was a private meeting, and I would think that Carmen or anyone else in that meeting would not want that meeting to go public and be used in a case against the township, and that's exactly what happened. Also, she went ahead and, in my view, attacked Brent's credibility, attacked Steve Bellich's credibility, and a private citizen for that matter. So, again, you could go through all of our board members. We have never really attacked the village on a personal level, and I think what was done to Carmen was really inexcusable, and there should be an apology set aside for him in that matter. And, you know, if you want to criticize what we do, produce the facts, and they've got to do that. And once they do, they'll realize that I think we were in the right. So that's what I have to say.
Anyone else got something to say? Okay, and we get a vote on this?
Sure, I'll take a roll call. Trustee Bonomo?
Yes.
Trustee Clausen?
Yes.
Trustee Rivera?
Yes.
Trustee Shake? Yes. Supervisor Ballage?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes, thank you.
And Highway Commissioner's report?
Okay, 8A, start at the top here. Smith Road Long Run Creek Bridge rehabilitation, the Phase 1 engineering was started already by Chrisberg Engineering. They did an initial inspection of the bridge. They're supposed to be providing us with temporary bridge shoring options because right now the bridge is so bad, they're not letting trucks across it, and soon they will not be letting buses across it, from what I've been told. And of course, every year that they salt, every time there's a winter freeze-thaw cycle, the bridge gets worse. So if you want to know about the history of the bridge, the cost of replacement, we went to IDOT. There was a three-way intergovernmental agreement between City of Lockport Township Road District, and the Homer Township Road District to split costs and get funding from the state to help replace the bridge. The only hook on that is it takes 3 years for the engineering and everything to get done. It's a very long process, so in the meantime, while we're waiting for that 3 years to elapse, we have to do something with the bridge to keep it together. So we're waiting for the temporary shoring options from the consultant. The roadway paving program for 2023 was a success this year. It was completed by Deconstruction a few weeks ago. I'll be walking through the work with them for a final punch list in the next 2 weeks. The roads that were paved this year were Meter Road, Bruce Road, and Gauger Road. And also as part of our program this year, sections of Farrell Road were paved with the cooperation of the City of Lockport and Lockport Township Road District. We each had segments of the stretch from roughly the Oak Avenue north to 151st Street. That was a successful project. I don't know how often you're all in Lockport, but they did a great job. The 2023 roadway lighting program, we are still waiting on materials. They've been hung up for months. It's just the way things are. There's nothing we can do about it. We tried to go to another bidder, to another vendor to provide materials, and it was even longer than the one that won the bid. So as soon as we get the materials in, we'll start doing work on it. I'm going to try to see if we can get the lighting foundations in before the winter. The roadway striping program has been completed. That was for the entire roadway miles of the road district, and I have to inspect that this month as well before final payments. Item E, the Homer Township Highway Commissioner Special Needs Grant. That is still open. We haven't received an application. I have to review it. This is a grant for $5,000 for any special needs person over 18, as long as they live in the township and they're a high school graduate. That's basically all we need. The grant application that's been set up, it has been reworked to make things easier for people to fill out the form online. You can go on the Homer Highway website or on the Homer Township website to fill out the application. Item F, we haven't heard much about this recently, but the Muslim Ummah Cemetery on Meter Road, I know that was a big issue a few months back. As far as the road district is concerned, the permit that we gave them to use our roads to gain access to their site, it's essentially closed with the exception of them having to do some work at their driveway off of Meter Road. There's a number of deficiencies in it. We wrote them a letter to fix them. Until they fix them, we're going to be holding back any further permits for them. We did just receive a no parking ordinance that was drafted by our attorney. We're going to start erecting no parking signs along Meter Road near the cemetery because there's no room to park right now. And from what I've seen recently at similar setups with Muslim cemeteries, they do have quite an attendance at their funeral services. We want to try to make sure that they don't bleed onto Meter Road because it's a 2-lane road with no shoulder. And that would be a disaster if they did that. So that's coming. I think in the next month or two we'll be putting the signs up. Now that we have the ordinance, we'll know what to put on the sign panels that are going to be erected along the roadway. Along with the permit amount, the no parking deficiency. Winter salt, item G. We have a 2-year contract for blended salt, which will continue through this winter. We have 300 tons on reserve, which is more than enough. We also have a lot left over from last year because we only had 4 or 5 snow events. So we're good with that in case anybody was wondering. Miscellaneous. So last Wednesday, I went to the village meeting to talk about the dissolution of Township and the dissolution of the road district, because that's what concerns me. And I provided some facts, and the mayor in her report provided numbers that didn't agree with mine. So the best way to settle an argument is with facts that are on paper and documented. So I'm going to go through that tonight, and I'll be doing this again at next Wednesday's meeting at the village. I think it's next Wednesday. Mileage. We submitted to the county today our mileage. This is for the current streets. This is what we maintain. This is what our MFT money is based on, and our operating budget. 19.4 miles. There was a lot of talk about 18 miles, but that was the old Will County DOT's. They have a printout that they provide to people showing the streets and the mileage and what the MFT money is based on. And the 18 is what the mayor quoted, and now it's 19.4. So as soon as I get a concurrence from the Will County Department of Transportation, I will be sending that over to the village. So they have that for the record. There was talk about my levy. She quoted 1.7 million. Of course, that wasn't the current year's levy. That was from a couple years ago, and it was a little higher. As I mentioned, I've been cutting taxes every year. I have it in my hand, and this is on the township website, my levy from last year, what was levied by the township, and what the half share was to the municipalities in the township. And I'll read it off to you if you have a minute. So the road and bridge fund taxes, $1,125,630.83. The equipment and building levy was $251,143.95. That was for a total of roughly $1.377 million. Of that $1.377 million, per state statute, half of that money for the road and bridge levy goes back to the municipalities that are in the township. So the Village of Homer Glen received $348,685. What they did with that money is not my purview, but I'm assuming they would use that to defray taxes. That's what they're supposed to do, and put that into the public works budget. Village of Lamont does not have very much land in the township. They only received $159.39. The city of Lockport received $169,938.61. And the Village of New Lenox also has a small piece of the township, very small, $5,908.25, which brings a total to roughly $525,000 that I did not get from my levy. I do not use for my expenses. I do not use for my operating fund, contrary to what she says. The way it works with the road district is we are not a home rule unit of government. So because we're not a home rule unit of government, we do not have the ability to move money around between different taxes and levies and line items. So our operating expenses come from the road and bridge fund. The equipment and building fund is only for large improvements to the building, which we did once already, and also for the purchase of equipment, which is every 3 to 5 years we buy a new truck. So our operating expenses from year to year are based on the road and bridge levy. So after you take the half share out, obviously the half share was $525,000, so we get $525,000. And that was my operating budget, $525,000, not $1.7 million. And again, it's all documented in a printout from the county on the township website, and we're going to put it on the road district website. So that's the second item, was the levy and my expenses. Third item was, somebody said, one of the trustees said something about, well, what does the road district spend per mile for their expenses? So we have 19.4 miles. and we have $525,000. You do the math, that's like $28,000 per mile. I think the village is probably twice that. Last I saw, I think they're between 6 and 7 million on their expenses for 135 miles, which puts them over 40,000 a mile. So we spend less money than the village. So they made a lot of claims that we should be dissolved because we spend a lot more than they do, but we don't. The next item is, okay, why do you spend 28,000 a mile? What does that pay for? One of the trustees thought that was a lot of money. So what I did was, over the last 2.5 years, I totaled up how much money we spent and how many miles of improvements we did to give you an idea of what it costs to fix a mile of road. In 2022, we had a 1.37 miles were improved. It was that was the local roads, and that included Farrell. We spent $414,000 for 1.37 miles. In 2023, this year, we improved 1.89 miles. It was $460,000. So on average, we're spending just under $300,000 to improve 1 mile of roadway. Typically, you do that once every 15 years. So if you do the math on that, basically every year you have to set aside $20,000 for every mile of road you have. Okay, so you have 20 miles of road, that actually adds up quickly. And obviously you have to pay for a staff, you have to pay for equipment. There's a lot of things you have to pay for besides even the capital improvement program. So that's just a rough brush of what it costs for fixing roads, so people understand how expensive it is. Almost $300,000 for 1 mile of road to improve it. That's a lot of money, but that's the way it is right now. That's the cost, and it goes up anywhere from 3 to 5% a year. So let's see what else is left. So I covered mileage, expenses, levies, maintenance responsibilities. Dave had mentioned before, somebody else also said, hey, Homer Glen maintains 8 miles of the road district. No, they don't. No, they don't. The 8 miles that they're referring to was 4 days last year. They helped us plow because we did not have a temporary snowplow driver available. So based on that, of course, she doesn't give the facts ever, but I'm not getting in the weeds on this. She does not maintain 8 miles of the road. She's not allowed to touch my roads unless I give her permission. We will never ever again ask them for any help on anything at the road district because of how she treats us. But either way, we want to be a sovereign unit of government, which means we don't have to go out to anybody for any help. We do everything internally. So we're going to get a temporary snowplow driver this year. So if we ever have an issue with Dave or Bob not being able to plow, or if we have issues with the truck or whatever else, we are not going to go to the village anymore. We will be doing it in-house. And I think that's everything that I wanted to say. I'm only given usually 3 minutes at the village meetings, so I try to go into a little bit of detail because I have more time at our meetings to kind of discuss these items. But and my phone is available for calling me. 708-609-4917 is my cell. It's on the website. If you ever want to talk about anything, please give me a call. That's all I got. Sorry it took up a lot of time. I apologize.
All right, Brent, it was very informative. Okay, next is the assessor's report. He's not here.
Then what's that?
Everything's going fine in the assessor. They got a lot of work right now. Now we go to committees and trustee reports. The first is the senior task force. Mike Bonomo and Cindy Laha.
Well, Cindy's not here, so I'll talk in regards to senior task force. You know, we had the senior lifestyle expo last month. Yeah, but you know, we had that success. Yeah, we
didn't talk about it, did we?
We didn't? Oh, we didn't. Oh,
It was after the meeting,
After
yeah.
the meeting, okay. Well, I guess I can talk about it. Oh, it was after the meeting, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I could say it was a huge success. You know, we had the first one last year, and we guesstimate about 250 people came through the turnstile with about 57 vendors. This year, our guesstimate was 350 people with 58 vendors. The volunteer group is endless. Cindy and me are, pretty much anchored. Without Angel, I don't think we could get things done. With everybody else on board, Vicky, Patty, Rosie, I could go through the list and I would leave people out if I did, so I'm going to just keep it at that. Everybody knows what they contribute to the event. Upcoming, in fact, last Tuesday we had a Halloween bingo for the seniors, and we had about 25 or 30 dress up in costumes for the event, and we gave out prizes for the best costumes, and they really got into it. The food was served by Rose Renders from Taza. She made mustacholi and meatballs. We gave fruit. What else do we have for them? And we gave away pumpkin pies at each table for the person who had the closest birthday to Halloween. We had pumpkins on the table. We handed those out to some of the seniors who wanted them. Some of them didn't, some of them did. But they all left with a full stomach and an enjoyable time. And what we're going to get started on is the senior Christmas party, which last year we did at Taza's. And unfortunately, we had to turn people away because of the attendance. And this year, we are having it at the Crystal Brand Ballroom in Lamont. For Archer, their capacity is 300, and my goal is to have 300 people there. And the reason why we chose that place is, number one, it's a very nice facility. It doesn't limit us on capacity, and the ownership does live in Homer Glen. So we are, I would say, keeping it in our with our constituents. They gave us a great deal. And from a taxpayer standpoint, we're going to limit the funds that are going to be asked for by the taxpayers. It's going to be very minimal, but it is for the seniors, and a handful of seniors are veterans, so I think that it's well-deserved, well-earned for what they've done for the community and for the world in itself. So again, I just want to say, what we do is for the seniors. Angel and I and Cindy put in a lot of work towards it. Vicki is always there to support us and all. And Patty, and I just want to say, we do it for the seniors, not for ourselves, and I think it's appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Next, we have the Special Needs Committee. It's Angel Shake, Brent Porfilio, and Mike Gondik. And I just want to say that everyone should really try and find somebody for that grant. It's a shame that it hasn't been taken yet. But,
No, I mean, Brent
Brent?
covered it all.
okay.
Yeah, we finally did get one application, which I'm very happy about, but it would be nice if we get a few more. I haven't set a deadline on when the nominations will close. I would like to try to do it before the holidays. So if you know anyone, please let them know about it.
Mike, you got anything on that or not really yet?
No, we've tried tried contacting various people, that have been promoting it, but we're going to see what we can do. We're going to work with the village if we can on this. They actually sent us an emails.
Yeah, the Ability Awareness Committee has been notified of it through the past chair, Nicole Laha, and I did inform Christina Knightsky, Troike about it. She may be the new chair, but I told her about it as well. And I think the high school was contacted too, right?
Yeah, I contacted the high school.
Yes, thank you for that. And I think they're the ones that generated the application. So, yeah, we got to keep spreading the news about it. Thank you.
Okay, then we have the Resource Management Task Force. I think they're just getting started. I don't know if you have anything, Angel?
No, we'll have a full inventory at the next meeting because we set our deadline for October 20th. So we're just putting everybody's inventory together, and then we will have all the surplus inventory so we can vote on that and find out whether it's the surplus that can be sold, what's got to be disposed of, what's no longer functioning. So we'll have all that by the next meeting.
Thank you. Okay, then we have the Land Use Committee, and that basically we talked about a little earlier. We didn't have anything else.
I would like to add something about that. Yeah, there was a, I don't know if anybody heard in the news about the Hadley Parker Road.
I was gonna bring that up in old
Go ahead,
business.
go ahead. Okay, I'll wait.
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot to say in that. All right, then we're moving on to Founders Crossing Task Force, Angel and Mike Clausen. They just started that also, so I don't know if you guys got anything.
No, we're just getting a couple units ready for new tenants, that's it.
And I think tomorrow or the next day, they're gonna start working on the exterior walls,
Yes,
fixing them.
I think it's tomorrow, right?
Yeah, we'll see it tomorrow, I forgot
They're
which
doing
day.
the hall, I'm so sorry. Help me. Founders, the gathering room, the community room, yes. They're gonna do that, I believe, first, and it's just to make sure everything is good, and then they'll move on to.
Okay, then we need a motion to approve all payment of all bills from September 2023, Founders Crossing Bond, Founders Crossing General Assistance, Open Space, Park Developer Contribution, Park, Town, Road and Bridge, and Equipment and Building.
I'll start that motion.
Second.
Okay, I'll take a roll call. Trustee Shake?
Yes.
Trustee Clausen?
Yes.
Trustee Bonomo?
Yes.
Trustee Rivera?
Yes.
Supervisor Ballard?
Yes.
Sorry.
It's not Cook County.
Okay, then we have new business, and I was gonna put it old, but it's really not old business, it's new business. We have Hadley Road. The people came to, called me up, and they wanted to talk to me, and talk about taking the road from the county, because the county wanted to widen the road, which would mean a lot of trucks would be able to go down it. And they wanted to fortify the whole thing so heavier weights could be on it, obviously, and widen the shoulder. And the old mayor of Homer Glen, Jim Daly, called me up and says, if this goes through, the road will be 20 feet from his house. So they said that the village kind of blew them off, that they didn't think the village was going to help them. So they came to us, Road Commissioner Porfirio, myself, and Carmen Morella, the assessor. We went out and looked at it. Brent did more extensive research on it, and then we called them up and told them we could take the road and leave it alone and not raise the property taxes to do it. And then we went to the village and we announced it, and that was in the beginning of the building, a public, open comments for the public. And then at the end of the meeting, I guess they turned around and said that they're gonna take the road. And so then we said, well, fine, if you're gonna take the road and you're not gonna allow it to be a truck route, basically, that hasn't been actually said, but it's implied in the way with the work they wanna do. So we said, fine, we'll support the village, let them have it, right? I mean, we don't care. Well, now the village did a jurisdictional transfer. They voted to do it. And there's no protections whatsoever in there for the people on Hadley Road. So it's Hadley, Parker, Chicago, Bloomington, South Bell Road. There's all these people that live over there affected by this. And people are calling me up from all around here. They're saying, well, why do you want to help them people? Well, the answer to that is if they could do it to them, they'll do it to you at one point. It just doesn't stop with the village going and trying to do something negative to one group. If they get away with it, they'll do it to whoever they want, whenever they want. And that could be drastic. So the township is, and I don't know, we have to talk about it if it comes up, but right now I'm talking with the people from Hadley Road, and I'm going to tell them, unless they put protections in there to protect that road, to keep it the same, going forward, then they may end up having a truck route, or you may have the road 20 feet from your window, or whatever it's going to be. Because if they go out for federal grants or state grants, then they're going to be forced to do what IDOT wants. And when I turn this over to Mr. Porfirio, he can explain it much better. But as far as I'm concerned, we will defend them people to the end. And if it calls for the township to sue the village, we will. because I'm not gonna let those people down. I wanna make that really clear. We're not gonna let them people down. They have to be protected, because if you don't protect them, who's next? Brent, do you wanna take it from there?
Yeah, I'll give you some quick background. So the County Department of Transportation, their job is to make it the most efficient way possible to get cars and trucks from one end of the county to the other. That's what their mission statement is, that's what their purpose is. So on County Highway 1 is a road called Parker Road on a north-south leg. If you start at Route 6 and go up Parker Road about a mile and a half, 2 miles, there's an intersection with Hadley Road. And then you go about 2.5 miles east and it ends up at Wolf Road, which is the county line. So there's just under 4 miles of roadway alignment that the county did a phase 1 report on, and they want to reconstruct the road. And the reason why they want to reconstruct the road is because it was built in the 80s, from what they said at the hearing, the public hearing, and based on the age of the pavement, they want to reconstruct the pavement. So whenever you reconstruct pavement, it's a rather extensive and expensive ordeal. I think they set the amount of money at $20 million for the reconstruction of the roadway, and the money that the county is going to get for the roadway comes from the federal government. And when the federal government gives you money, they have certain standards that they want you to follow. So there's ways to try to get around the federal standards. It's very difficult. You can get waivers and exemptions, but it takes a lot of work and a lot of luck on letting that happen. So I don't know how many of you have driven that way. It's a nice drive. It's tree-lined streets. It's got some curves and turns in it, and there's a lot of nature around there, and I think there's a couple of historic landmarks along there. So the people that attended the first public hearing meeting with the county came to us. Well, they went to the village first, and after the village meeting, they spoke with Steve and I looked into it. I said we would take it over. So if you go through there, though, there's a lot of roller coaster up and down, and there's a lot of zigzags. And some people will say that's not the best for traffic capacity, but if you live around there, you want reduced speeds. So for reduced speeds, you want all those curves in it, both horizontally and vertically. The federal government doesn't like that. They want you to have certain standards that flattens out the profile of the road and eliminates the sharp corners. So you have higher speeds and it's a safer pavement. But the locals don't want the faster speeds. They want to leave it alone. And in my opinion, that's the better way to do it. So geographically speaking, north of this corridor is 159th Street. That's a state route, and that's a truck route. And to the south is Route 6, US Route 6, and that's a truck route. And we would like to keep trucks on those two east-west routes to go through the county rather than cutting through Hadley and Parker Road. So that's the thought process behind why the township and the road district wanted to support the people that live out there. And if you drive through there, also what you see is it's mainly driveways off of the main road. And they're large properties, and there's 2 or 3 subdivisions, I think, Boer Woods is one of them, that come off of that road. So when you classify the road, if there's a lot of driveways on it like that, it's more of a collector road than a highway. It's not a county highway for where it's located and the way that the surroundings are on it. It's a very narrow right-of-way as well. So it's a 22-foot pavement, it has 11-foot lanes, in some spots they're 10-foot, and there's a very narrow shoulder. And then immediately you have a ditch, and then you have the tree line. So there's not a lot of room to widen the road. So if you widen the road, you got to put in sewer, because you got to fill in the ditches. And that's one thing that the federal government would make you do. Besides smoothing out all the curves and bumps, like I said, they would want you to widen the shoulders. And of course, the more widening you do on the pavement, you have to take property. And the county obviously has eminent domain, So if they need to take the property, they take the property, they appraise it, and they work out a deal with the property owner. But the issue is, some of the properties, like at the intersections, they're gonna take a large piece. So that buffer that they have from the houses to the roadway right-of-way is gonna be shrunk pretty substantially for some of the property owners. And like you said, the former mayor of Homer, Glenn, was mentioning that. So, in my opinion, and I walked the 4 miles. I've done pavement assessments all over the country for 35 years. I know how to monitor and look at pavement and figure out how long it's going to last, how long before it's got to be improved, how to improve it. I won't bore you with all that stuff, but in my opinion, it can go another 5 to 10 years. It has pozzolanic ash in it. That's not used much anymore for constructing roadway pavement. It's something that hardens over time. It's a cement additive. But nevertheless, for a nearly 50-year-old pavement, it's in good shape. And in my opinion, it doesn't have to be reconstructed. And based on that, the costs of improving it are not $20 million. I had said at the Homer Glen meeting, it doesn't even cost that much in California. A little joke there, but we would be looking at resurfacing it within 5 to 10 years. We would do it in phases because, like I said, I consistently pretty much chip at the tax base every single year. So I have a controlled budget in order to make this thing work with my budget and not ask for grant money, because with grant money comes regulations, which means that all the stuff that's out there now slowing down traffic will go away. So I would phase it over 4 years, a mile a year. That's typically what I do, is about 2 miles a year of roadway improvements. And that's how it would be worked out. If you look at a lot of the other collector roads around here, if you look at Gauger Road, Bruce Road, 163rd, 167th, they're all kind of have the same look that Parker Hadley has. It's a 22-foot pavement with 1 to 2 foot shoulders and a ditch, and that's it. And that's all that's really required around here. We don't want to invite trucks. You've probably heard about the Center Point development in Joliet. It's generating exponential number of trucks every year, and it keeps going up. And because of that, it's saturating all the network of roadways out here in Will County, and it's causing truck drivers to take alternate routes to try to save time. So, in my opinion, we want to take the trucks off of that road. We want to lower the speed limit, and that's how the Township Road District can take over those 4 miles. And I've said before, we will not hire anyone. We will not increase taxes if we take over that piece of road. That's something that we have not heard yet from the village. And they did a workshop on, was it last week, 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
And they went over some of their ideas and ways they're going to do things, but you got to protect the people. So, you know, if they're going to take over the road, that's great, but they got to make sure they promise the people what we're promising them, and in writing, no taxes, no hiring of extra staff for it. And that's what we're trying to do.
Now, there's the important thing that really needs to come out. So people that are going to file open meetings violation thing, the road commissioner has total authority over that. The township does not have to vote on it. The road commissioner makes all the calls. That's how the law works. So when we went out and we said we're going to take the road, well, it's the road commissioner. He has 100% authority. And the coincidence that I find really remarkable, so if you pay attention to what I said earlier, we haven't been getting along with the village at all since the election. They've done nothing but attack us on everything. We couldn't even have a parade because they wouldn't let us use their street. All of a sudden now, because the village wants to take Hadley Road and do what they want, and the township is standing there saying, no, we're going to protect the people. Isn't it ironic that they decided that they want to dissolve the township and they put out a referendum to go out and dissolve the township because the township's the only thing that stands in the way of protecting the people from the villages and the cities? Just think about that. It's kind of ironic that you know, all this time passed and we weren't getting along at all. But then what made it happen that they pulled the trigger right now? And I'll lay it, I bet it was Hadley Road, because they're really upset that we're trying to help protect those people. But that's it. Does anyone else got anything to say about this?
Didn't you file something with the county?
Yeah, I filed a jurisdictional transfer with the county because, for Hadley Road at the county, because the village wasn't doing anything. And then I'm sure that the county called them, and that's when I said it. If they're gonna do it, I'll support them, and so will the road commissioner. I'm sure the people on our board, as long as the people are protected. And right now, the people are not protected. They have a jurisdictional transfer to get the road, and it doesn't have anything in there saying they're not gonna do what the county would have did.
Well, they did say they were gonna hire somebody else at the public works for it too. So they'd have to absorb that cost rather than pass it on to taxpayers.
So we have a lot of problems, but believe me, the township is not gonna raise your taxes, that's number one. And the township, number two, will always stand to protect all the citizens here. And if anyone don't like us protecting Hadley, look at it like this. When they come for you, we'll protect you too. The old business was micro pantries, and we have them up over right there, and over by Billy Maley's hair salon on Golden Oak Drive. And so if you have extra food you want to bring over there, bring it in there. We have Narcan in there from the county. So please bring your stuff. Catherine Burke supplies that. Thank you, Catherine. Anyway, we'll go on to next thing would be executive session. There is no motion to adjourn.
I'll start that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion passes. Thank you. 8:06 p.m.